All right, everyone. Unhappy Wednesday. Coming to you live from our humble abode or compound here. This is the Unhappy Gilmore Show, powered by Green Legion Radio and part of the Green Legion Radio family. We thank you for joining us tonight from wherever you may be and whatever service you're using to tune in. As always, I recommend YouTube, but you do whatever makes you happy or unhappy in this case. So pull up a chair, turn up the volume in the car, or use the company dime if you're still at work as we try to entertain you for the next hour-ish. Put an end to day 3 of this week's hostage situation and look forward to tomorrow, Friday Eve. How the hell are all of you? I see we got Lou Dominguez, Keenan, and David in the room. Thank you very much for joining, fellas. Always appreciate you here. Last week, we were on location at the Back Porch Saloon. You've seen me posting over and over and over again, and I've said it over and over and over again on here. And for those of you coming out to Indianapolis this weekend, you'll probably hear me talk about it there too. Anyone who can hear my voice, anyone who's watching, anyone who sees my posts, whether you live in this area or not, please help spread the word. We want the Back Porch to be your Cincinnati home for Philadelphia Eagles fans, okay? That's what we're pushing for. So whatever you guys can do to help, just spread the word. Like I say all the time, just because you don't live here doesn't mean you don't know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody who could help spread the word around. Some of you have joined some of the other groups that I'm now in on Facebook. Your Eagle fans groups. I've joined a ton of them. I share our stuff on there. So we're just pushing for it. Last week was fun. Was a good time. Was great to sit with my buddy Mike. I hope you guys enjoyed that because we're going to try to make that more of a regular thing going forward. Where, maybe I don't know how frequently we'll be able to do it, but I'd like to be able to go up there, do the show from there with Mike as as his time is available. And I thought it was a good time, right? And he's a lot like a lot of you. He's all Philly. Right, he's been living out here in Cincinnati for most of his life, but like he explained to all of you last week, Air Force kind of brat, so moved around a bunch, but generally Philadelphia area. That's where he was introduced to American sports, so that's what he loves, and that's how him and I first became friends. One thing we did not talk about last week that I really wanted to, and I totally spaced on it because I didn't have it written down because I'm an idiot. When I first moved out here, I was 27 years old when I met Mike, and I started going to the Back Porch where I met my now wife, Michelle. I was still pretty wound up, pretty, East Coast type of hustle and bustle, loud, kind of in your face. And that sort of attitude didn't translate well to people out here in the Midwest. So I found myself kind of, in trouble. With like, who the hell is this lunatic? Blah blah blah. I can tell you, without Mike Solon, I would not be allowed in the Back Porch anymore. That would have ended years ago. And I don't know that I'd be able to go to a whole lot of establishments right in and around the Butler County area. Now, since we've had the kids and stuff, you don't go out as much. You get older, you mellow out, and so on and so forth. But I can tell you, initially, I was very very wound up, very just out there, man. I was out to have a good time. Well, the whole area here was not going to adjust to me. I had to adjust to it, in certain aspects. So without Mike, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know where I'd be allowed to go right now. So that's how far back him and I go. Really good dude. And I'd like to make him, he is the general manager up there at the Back Porch. So he runs the show. At the beginning of the show last week, like right after we started, you heard somebody walking up yelling, "Who Dey, who Dey, who Dey" for the Bengals. That was Jimmy. He's the owner of the Back Porch. Really, really nice guy. Obviously, we've known him for a long time. So he wanted to come back and kind of break our stones a little bit as we were getting off and rolling. Of course, he comes back there and says, "Who's going to beat those Eagles?" And of course, Mike and I both say, "Nobody." And then Monday night happened, which, of course, we're going to get to that in a few. But with all of that in mind, and again, I've said this before on here too. It's I have a blast doing this. I have a blast interacting with all of you in the room. I have a blast talking about this stuff. I even have a blast when I'm wound up and pissed off, and like the Yankees rant a couple of weeks ago. But I do think the show, not only just for me, but I would imagine for you as well. I believe it's better when there's more than just me. Now, you're not going to get that tonight unless somebody wants to join. But um, unless we have a planned guest going forward, I am going to provide this every week, and I will continue to do it. Right over there in the comments, you should see a link. If you click on that, you'd be able to come backstage, and I can see who's trying to join, and you can hop on in with us for for however long you like. I just think it's more fun for me, and it's more fun. I think it's a more enjoyable show for all of you when it's more than just my fat ass up here, blowing off steam, for lack of a better term. Let me hop over here. I want to say hi to everybody. I know we talked. Who do we got here? So Lou Keenan, Lou Mancini, David Califoot. Yeah. So I appreciate you guys being here. Keenan, did the kids have to shovel snow yet? Not yet, but it did snow again today. Not much, just dusting that kind of stuck to the grass. There was a little bit blowing around the highway when I was on my way home. But it's not like how it is back home, back up there in the Northeast. When it snows out here, it becomes a bigger problem. They're just geographically looking at it, you'd think it wouldn't be because, like I said, geographically, you're going to get snow here. Surprisingly enough, it doesn't snow a lot here. So when it does, there's somewhat of a lack of equipment to remove from the roads. A lot of the folks here don't handle it very well as far as driving and whatnot. So it becomes like one flake of snowfall, and it can be a real disaster. Now, not anything like when I lived in Tennessee, or any of you that are from North Carolina or places like that where they threaten snow, like nothing's even fallen yet, and the whole state shuts down. When we were the first year we were in Tennessee, first school year, right around Martin Luther King Jr. Day. So the kids were off school that Monday. It snowed. It dropped 3.5 inches in the Nashville area. They were off the rest of the week. They didn't go to school the whole week for 3.5 inches of snow. Up there in Philly, man, 3.5 inches of snow, you might get a delay, but I don't think they're canceling school for a week. So just different areas, different things. But out here in Ohio, it can get to be a problem. Southwest Ohio. I know some of you probably don't, maybe have never been to this area. I am 30 minutes north of the Ohio River. The Ohio River separates Ohio and Kentucky. I am also about 30 minutes away from the Indiana border. So they call this area a tri-state area because of how the proximity to Indiana and Kentucky. The airport, Cincinnati Airport, is actually on the Kentucky side. It's the Cincinnati Northern Kentucky International Airport. And I don't know if it's still this way, but the ticket prices down there used to be higher because you actually paid taxes for both states. I don't really pay much attention to it anymore. I try to fly out of Dayton when I can. But David Califoot, out here in Iowa, kids still walk to the bus and they get, yeah. So Iowa is a whole different animal. My one of the plant manager at my facility where I work now, he's from North Carolina, but he transferred to Iowa when he was, getting his career off and going. He had kids at the time. Well, they were born and had partly been raised in North Carolina. So again, the threat of snow, they're not going to school. Everything's shut down, blah, blah, blah. When they move out to Iowa, and the way Chris tells the story is it's snowing, and his son comes running in all laughing, having a good old time, like, yeah, Dad, we're going to have a snow day. And Chris just turned and looked at him and said, let's take a look at the bottom line there on the TV. Nothing's canceled. Nothing at all. So they put chains on the tires out there. And like David just said, they will walk in -10. Iowa's kind of brutal, man. It gets nasty hot in the summer with the humidity, and then brutal cold and snow in the wintertime. So, David, I didn't realize you were in Iowa. Can you tell me what part? The only part I've ever stopped at in Iowa was Dyersville. And that's when we were coming back down from Minneapolis. We stopped in Dyersville and went to the Field of Dreams. So I don't know a whole hell of a lot about Iowa, but I don't. Des Moines. Okay, he just said Des Moines. Yeah, I don't know a whole hell of a lot about it. I just know that it gets wicked hot in the summer with the humidity, and it snows and it's blustery cold in the wintertime. So it just doesn't sound like a very pleasant place to live, to me, anyways. But like I said, this link here, it'll be there. I'm going to put that up every week for anyone who wants to join. I always have some things typed up or written down that I would like to talk about week to week, because if I don't, I'll just go off on tangents like I'm doing now. But if anybody joins, we can talk about whatever. Like when my friend Sam was on, when Fito was on, Mike last week. If anybody plans to join, especially if we talk about it ahead of time, I'm comfortable with whatever. The most important thing for me is that the people joining the show, the guests that we want to have on, anyone who's interested in coming, more important to me is that you are comfortable. All right. So whatever topics you're comfortable with, by all means, hop back over. Jason, my man, you back at the crib? Yes, Jason, I am. I am home tonight. I thought about doing it from the back porch again tonight, but we got Indianapolis coming up this week, and I didn't want to. I figured it best to just be home. So that's where we're at there. And along with that, we are just a few days away from Indianapolis, right? So it's should be a fun time this weekend. I'm going to be out there for sure. We are having, again, another rash of sickness in the house. My 12-year-old, again, his fever's almost 100 again. He's complaining of a sore throat. My daughter's coughing up a storm. I don't think it's anything serious with either of them. The problem we have is the person who would be watching our children this weekend is my mother-in-law. And she is not really comfortable around a bunch of sick, if there's an illness going around the house, nor do I want her to do that. So, if she's not comfortable and stuff, then Michelle, unfortunately, would be skipping the trip to Indy this weekend. I'm still going to come out, but she would be staying home. And it's just not a whole hell of a lot you can do. You got kids. Some of you guys got kids. I'm sure you can relate. Yeah, Keenan on YouTube. I'm an introvert unless I'm cussing someone out. I can appreciate that. I always tell people at work, if I'm loud and I'm hollering and stuff, not much to worry about. Where you need to worry is if I'm all of a sudden quiet. If I'm just walking around brooding, that's when you want to steer clear. Jason, you guys need to go live on Instagram and Facebook. So we are live on Facebook. Instagram, we are not. That's not. So Jason, just to let you know, and guys, Jason, right after the Indianapolis trip, I got a message from Diaz, or the Indianapolis trip, the Arizona trip. I got a message from Diaz, and it was a screenshot of a gentleman who had reached out to the Green Legion looking for a place to go watch Birds games here in the Cincinnati area. That's Jason. He is active Coast Guard. He plans to retire early part of next year, but he is active right now. So if you guys want to give a hello and a salute and of course, a thank you for the service. Jason's a really good guy. He's saying we should go live on Instagram and Facebook. So Jason, the program that Green Legion uses is called StreamYard. We are set up to go live on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. Now, the reason why I use that god-awful crappy music to open and close the show is because if I use actual, like AC/DC or something like that, it dumps us off of Facebook. And I get a lot of views from Facebook, and I don't want to lose that. So That's where we're at with it. But we are live on Facebook. You're on Jason. You're on Facebook commenting now. I always recommend YouTube just in case Facebook dumps it for whatever reason. But like I've always said, you guys do what's comfortable for you. Maria's in the room too, saying thank you for your service, Jason. We very much appreciate all that. Oh, and he switched over to YouTube. So, yeah. So Indianapolis. I know a few of you are going. English is coming out. I think Missy's driving. So the plan right now is for us to drive out to Indy from here on Saturday morning. Now, I got a phone call from Q last night, but I was already asleep. I don't know what he wants to talk. I think it's something about, what's my, what can I do to help out this weekend? Q, if you're listening, you just understand that I'm always available for you whenever you need me. So if you need me to come Friday night instead, I would just need some help getting the hotel stay bumped up a day. But other than that, the plan is for us to drive out Saturday morning. I'll drive out Saturday morning at whatever time. It's only an hour and 40 minutes from here. So, I mean, I can leave at 6 o'clock in the morning, be there by 7:30, whatever the case may be. Other than that, guys, Indy looks to be a good time. I know that I looked into that Nevermore place where the tailgate's going to be. It looks absolutely enormous. So I think, it sounds like that's why Q's been pitching that he's got almost unlimited capacity, and it's all indoors because the place is just huge. And it looks really cool. Edgar Allan Poe themed, right? It's called Nevermore, so quoth the Raven. Looks like a good time. We're definitely excited. Definitely want to go. Can't wait to get there. I love the Green Legion family. It's hard for us here in Ohio to be able to hook up with you guys more than once a season. So, I wanted to take advantage of Indianapolis being so close. I really wanted to come up to Detroit for the opener too, but it wasn't in the cards. Chicago would have been great as well, but that's just so close to Christmas. I mean, I could make it work if if it was something Q needed me up there for. I could definitely make it work, but it wasn't something we were going to go ahead and just pony up for that close to Christmas. So we're looking forward to this weekend and getting getting hooked up with some Legion legends and whatnot. Should be a great time. Other than that, guys, we got Thanksgiving next week, right? Looking forward to the long weekend. Family, food, and football. That's why Thanksgiving is like my favorite holiday. I think I like Thanksgiving the most. A lot of it is because it gets neglected, right? Everybody pushes all the Halloween candy and whatnot, and then they just want to move on to Christmas. And in the middle is Thanksgiving. And it's not about, how much money you're going to spend on each person. It's just about everybody getting together, eating some great food, watching some football, having some laughs, and that's why I love that holiday. Almost more than I love Christmas. Christmas has been more fun, since I had kids. So yeah, their faces on Christmas morning is always dynamite, man. That's like my favorite thing in the world, is especially when they were younger, like when Grady was 9 and Liam was 6 and Brooklyn was 3. And they come out of their rooms and all the presents that weren't there the night before are under the tree. It's just a great time. Everybody welcoming Jason to the room. Nice warm Green Legion welcome. I like to see that. Keenan Harmon, Quimby, he'll get trashed and have no radio voice the next day. No, I'm not allowed to knock him on that. That was me in Arizona. I blew my voice out on Saturday night and was supposed to co-host the pregame show on Sunday at the tailgate, and I couldn't because I couldn't speak. That's not happening this weekend. I promised that I would not ever let that happen again. So, yeah, we're going to take a little bit better care of ourselves on Saturday night, and then we'll let it fly and go crazy on Sunday. But, yeah, Saturday night, we're going to keep it a little chill. So, guys, I didn't take a whole lot of notes about Monday night's game. And I know I see some of the comments over here. You guys are you're definitely wanting to move along to it. And we're going to go to that right now. I didn't take a whole lot of notes, like I said, from the game. Look, I don't think I could tell you the last time I saw an Eagles team play that sloppy. I mean, it was just a bad, bad game. Started out all right, but look, you cannot let a Washington Commodes team run that ball 49 times for 152 yards. This run defense has got significant issues. I know a lot of people want to talk about, oh, well, Jordan Davis went out. Look, that's not helping, of course. But the problems were happening before Jordan Davis went out. We've not held a team under 100 yards on the ground since Jacksonville. That's 5 weeks where they've gone over. And I mean, these teams are way over 100 yards. Coming into the game on Monday night, we were averaging over 4-game stretch since the Jacksonville game, giving up 142.5 yards a game. That's gone up after Monday night. So they ran the ball 49 times, 152 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Time of possession, 40 minutes and 24 seconds. I don't know what the hell the offensive scheme was in the first half, but that was absolutely horrendous. I mean, it almost felt like Chip Kelly again, where 3 and out, quick pass. Okay, you've got to run the football, okay? You know, and at the risk of sounding like Quimby here, but you have got to run the ball. Take a look at the second half. I thought the adjustments made after halftime were actually well done. The defense looked better. The offense looked a lot better because they were running the football. We were actually keeping the damn defense a little bit more fresh, keeping the ball. Of course, then you're going to go fumble it twice. And look, I get the Dallas Goedert play. The face mask was egregious. It was horrible that it wasn't called, especially when you see that view with the back judge looking directly at it. But that's not an excuse. Okay? When you leave the game in the hands of the zebras, you get whatever outcome you deserve. You have to take care of your business. We were more talented than that Washington team up and down the lineup. Quarterback, wide receiver, running back, tight end, all over the defense. You know, you can make a case that the defensive lines are equal. Washington's front four is very, very strong. Behind that, we're better. And they got gassed. They got pushed around. It was a sloppy game. You know, the Goddard fumble was bad. I've said that, just because you get your face mask ripped doesn't mean you fumble the football. Understanding the fact that was a pretty brutal face mask, and, the Quez Watkins play was atrocious. I mean, despite how ugly that game was, if you don't fumble those 2 times, this has the possibility of still being a double-digit victory. And that's what I need everyone to understand. There are people freaking out all over the place about losing 1 game. Granted, it was to an inferior team in our division, bad look, sloppy night, after 11 days off, at home. I got it. I'm with you. But it's 1 game. Okay? 1. I don't believe there's any such thing as a good loss, but I think you have to find the silver lining in every situation. And with this game, the obvious silver lining is nobody has to talk about undefeated anymore. If any of you out there thought we were going undefeated, please let me have some of what you're smoking, because that just wasn't going to happen, guys. We were not guys and girls. We were not going undefeated. All right? This team is good. It's not that. All right? I believe we're talented enough to beat anyone in the league. But I never thought for a second we were going to just beat everyone on our schedule week in and week out. Okay? I did not expect to lose to Washington. I thought a loss to Tennessee. Maybe you dump the second one to the Cowboys, 1 to the Giants, something like that. I did not see a loss to Washington coming. What I do see with Washington is the end of Carson Wentz as a starter in this league. That was definitely his last chance. And he has to have lost his job to Heineke. I don't know how the hell you can possibly put Carson Wentz back under center. I don't care what you're paying him. That team is entirely different, more energized with Heineke. The defensive side of the ball from Monday night obviously got pushed around all over the place. Some of it is the fact that they got gassed. I just read it off to you. They were on the field for 40 minutes. 40 minutes, 24 seconds. You're not going to win a whole lot of football games when you lose turnover battles and you leave your defense hanging out to dry there. That first half, ran the ball twice in the first half. You're not going to extend a whole lot of drives. You're not going to hold the ball for a whole lot of time when you're just dropping back and throwing every single down, okay? If you play like that, you have to score. And if you don't and you're 3 and out, that's Chip Kelly era crap, and you're going to get your defense worn out. That's exactly what happened on Monday night. Second half was better, and then the fumbles happened. It just takes the game out of your hands. I don't know what else you want the defense to do in that point, in that spot. However, that run defense has got to get fixed. That's the thing. One of the things I was most disappointed in. 11 days off, almost like a mini bye week, and you're home, and you come out and you allow the commodes to run that ball down your throat. 49 rushes, 152 yards, and a touchdown. They just didn't show any respect for our run defense at all. Now, we go sign Linval Joseph. I've seen a couple of people mentioning him already. Do I think David Califoot right now, do I think he's going to play Sunday? I think he's going to have to play on Sunday. This is a veteran. He's 34 years old. This is not like some, second-year guy that got picked up off a scrap heap. He's not played this season, but he's 34 years old. I would think he could probably grasp some basic run defensive schemes over, in the course of a few days and be ready for Sunday. He's got to, we're going to need it. Very large man, 6'4", 329. He had 3 Pro Bowl seasons in, where the hell was he? In Minnesota. I think it was 2016 through 2018. He played 12 games with the Chargers last year. So, he's been sitting. I get it. He's got to get up to speed. But he's going to – look, he's got today, tomorrow. He's got Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. He's got 4 days to get up to speed. I think we can get him at least in some packages there where he can at least rotate, give some guys a breather. He's going to take up a lot of space in the middle, and he's got to be able to help. The loss of Jordan Davis hurts, but that can't be – we were already struggling in this area prior to Davis getting hurt. And now we're going to go and we're going to face a guy, I think when you look at the best running backs in football, you can talk about Jonathan Taylor, you can talk about Derrick Henry, and you can talk about who's the other one? Dalvin Cook can make a claim in there. Saquon Barkley is performing extraordinarily well again this year. But Jonathan Taylor, he was the best running back in football last year. So, and then you look at Indy. Yeah, I know they only beat the Raiders last week, but they did it with a coach who's never coached anywhere above the high school level. So you thought going into that, watching that stuff last week, well, maybe he was going to have trouble. Or is it the other way where now the team is kind of playing some inspired football to back Jeff Saturday? I don't know. What I do know is that defensive front has got to figure out a way to stuff the run. Okay? You can't come out and keep giving up 150 yards a game on the ground. You're going to keep losing football games. Let me hop over to the room here. You guys have been going at it over here. Jason, I know this is your first time in here. This room will take on a life of its own. They are absolutely fantastic, and I'm sure you're a great addition over here. Where is that most recent comment? Right here. Jason says, I don't think it's a personnel issue. Gannon got beat. He didn't put the defense in the right position or call the right plays to counter. I agree with you in the first half. The second half, you could definitely see adjustments made, and it was better in the second half than it was in the first. Some of that had to do with the offense playing a little better too, the fumbles aside. But we were sustaining some drives that just ended in turnovers. Overall, no, I am not a Gannon fan. I don't think any of us really are. I think there's way too much talent there's talent all over the team. Far too much talent on the defensive side of the ball to get pushed around like we've been getting pushed around over the last 5 weeks. You can't do that. And offensively, Sirianni and the offensive staff have got to recognize that the run game still needs to be a heavy part of this team. I get that Jalen Hurts has had a great year so far throwing the ball. Totally understand it. But he's able to do those things because the run game has also supported that. When you can get Miles Sanders going, spell him with Kenny Gainwell for some solid touches, you can run the RPO off of that, and it just frees everything up. The other thing Washington did well was they contained A.J. Brown, and they just kept us off the field. It was an unpleasant evening, very frustrating evening. I don't really want to dwell on it because it makes me sick. Again, the fact that we played that poorly, in particular in the first half, and then that sloppy with the fumbles in the second half, but you still had a chance to win the game. Guys, anyone out there freaking out like we're going to go on some losing streak here? I'm not saying it can't happen, but the fact that you could play that bad and still have a shot to win the football game, and without the fumbles had a shot to win that football game by double digits, I'm going to chalk it up to a bad week and a sloppy performance, and hopefully it's something they learn from. I can't imagine that practice this week has been a good time for these guys. I've got to believe that Sirianni has been grabbing face masks and getting in people's faces, including Gannon. I think he needs to get grabbed by the collar. Listen, dude, we need better. Mike English in the room. There we go. Are we past the blame the refs BS? Hope so. I am on to Indy, at least prepping to pack for Indy. Mike, you hit the nail right on the head. I don't want to hear any blaming the ref stuff. The penalty at the end on Brandon Graham, weak sauce, probably the correct call, but weak. And the missed call on the face mask, we all know these are horrible, horrible, horrible calls and non-calls. But the bottom line is, guys, you cannot play that poorly and then turn around and blame it on refs. You just can't. So that's my stance. English and I have talked a couple of times on Facebook about it. We both feel the same way. Moving on to Indy, right? Moving on to Indy. Are they playing inspired ball for Jeff Saturday? We're going to find out on Sunday at 1 o'clock. Again, like I've said every week, we're the more talented team overall, guys. Okay? We were the more talented team on Monday night, too. We're the more talented team coming into Sunday out in Indy, and I expect to win the game. We need to bounce back from Monday night and show everyone that we've not been a fluke. Hang on over here. Califoot. How can you say that wasn't Dallas? Dude, David, I think you're missing the point. I'm not saying that the calls weren't shit. The calls and no calls were horrible, and we have every right to be pissed about it. What I'm saying is you can't blame losing that game on the bad calls. That's what I'm saying. All right? We did not execute, which put us in position for shitty calls to affect the outcome of the game. Our fault. You got to take responsibility for that as a team. And I believe they'll do that this week. And I believe you'll see a different team come out on Sunday, hungry, pissed off. And you heard some of the veterans already. They're talking about it's exactly what I said earlier. You have to find some silver lining, and that silver lining is there's no more talk about undefeated season. That shit wasn't going to happen. So We're moving on to Indy. English has the right thing. What's he got here now? Mike English again. Lou, I thought the fall would be more time, but the Phillies, for as good as they were, a great World Series run, and I was in Houston for the Eagles near Minute Maid Field. Yeah. Okay. I mean, here I'm gonna do this again so that anybody who wants to can go ahead and hop on in here. I'll keep doing this as I remember to. I can get off on rants and tangents here. You guys all know that. It's part of the Unhappy Gilmore show. Is we're gonna get pissed off from time to time. And Monday night there was a lot to be pissed off about. That Tuesday at work was rough. Hungover, tired. And then dealing with my wife who had she tested positive for COVID on a home test. So we all took them. Everyone else is negative. She goes and gets a real one from a doctor, and it's negative. They told her it was allergies and sinuses and shit. I'm like, allergies, everything's dead. It's been 30 degrees out here for like 5 days now. Whatever. Everyone, she's fine. I'm fine. The kids are a little banged up, so we'll see what happens. Not quite sure if I'm coming to Indy alone or if it's going to be the wife and I. I'm hoping we can both still go, but we're just going to have to wait and see. So, all right. Anybody else got anything on the Birds? Because I'm done with the Monday night talk. I'm done with people bitching about it. The one downside to joining all those groups on Facebook is the just barrage of posts about whining about referees and, playing blame game for everything else except for what the Eagles didn't do well, right? Like it's enough. They didn't play a good game. The scheme, I think, on both sides of the ball, on the offensive side with the lack of run game in the first half, and then the defense was bad as well. I did not like the soft behind the front four. It felt very much like we regressed in defensive play calling. Back to that the Detroit game to start the year where it was, you're just trying to get there with the front four. But then behind that, you're just playing this kind of soft zone. It didn't feel right. It felt like it was a bad scheme. To their credit, the adjustments were made at halftime and they looked better. But by that point, the damage was done, man. And then again, the fumbles. Quez Watkins, my God, dude. I mean, that was such a big play. And, just stay down, dude. Then you get up, you're running with the ball at your hip. It gets punched right out. And that was pretty much the game. So I'm done with it. I want to move on to Indy. Again, Jonathan Taylor has to be the focal point. I don't want to see this soft-ass bullshit. I understand you can't blitz and play press every single down. But you also can't just rush forward and play soft behind it every single down either. Gannon better get his ass in gear and find a plan to stop this running game from eating us alive. It felt very much like that Indy team was playing a little bit inspired in support of Jeff Saturday. So we're not going to be able to. I don't think we're waltzing into Indianapolis like it's a cakewalk. Okay. Their defense isn't bad. Their offensive line is good. And they have who could be the best running back in football in the backfield. You're going to have to bring it this week. This isn't a gimme. It's on the road. Again, you're favored by a touchdown on the road. You need to live up to the hype, guys. So they better come out and bring it. That's all I'm going to say. All right, Gannon, fix your shit. Sirianni, fix your shit. I think we've beaten it to death here for 41 and a half minutes about the defensive play calling and the offensive play calling. I think we all recognize what the problems were on Monday night, and you got to take better care of the football. All right, Jalen, the interception. I don't mind going to Brown in double coverage, but I think you got to put that ball up where he can go up and make a play, not just try to drop it in a bucket. So, all right, I'm off my soapbox about the Birds, about Monday night. Lou Mancini. Adam, how did those loaded potato soup balls roll? You win this time. Okay, so in between. After this, we're going to hop over to some Pete Rose stuff, and then we're going to call it a night. But for those of you who followed the show, have listened to the show, have watched the show, you know that there have been multiple cook-offs with me versus my wife. Different theme stuff. According to the kids, we tied the first two. So we did the round 3 on Sunday, and it was soup, right? Soup or bisque or whatever. So my wife chose to make cheddar broccoli soup, which I am not a cheddar broccoli fan, but she knocked that out of the park. It was awesome. I chose to go with loaded potato soup and put it in sourdough bread bowls. And I posted some pictures on Sunday night after the thing. Finally, we had a decision that went at least one person's way. The kids all voted for me on Sunday, with my daughter actually wanting me to do that again for her birthday dinner, and I think my oldest was I think wanting the same thing. So hats off to my wife for another great meal. Both of those recipes have made our folder of recipes. And there's no real loser because they were both outstanding. I got her good with that one, though. The bread bowl was a game changer. Recipe called for 7 cups of milk. I went with like 4 or 5 cups of milk and then like 2 or 3 cups of chicken broth. So we were having a good time with it. And the kids immediately, of course, when are you going to do another one? Not till January, guys. Okay. I got Thanksgiving to cook in a week and a half. And then I've got, then we got Christmas on the heels of that. So we'll hop over here one more time before we move on. Mike English. Troy and Joe didn't even see the call, face mask when it happened. You couldn't even see it in real time on the broadcast, not till the replay. But either way, on to Indy. Yes, on to Indy. On to Indy. Absolutely. The Colts beat the Raiders. Should be half a win. Hey, bud, we just lost to the Commodes, so I'm going to pump the brakes on talking a whole lot of shit. It was nice to see Dallas lose on Sunday night in epic fashion. My older brother, being a Packers fan, his birthday was yesterday. His wife brought him and the kids, sorry, it's not just the girls, up to Green Bay for that game. So he got to be at Lambeau Field watching his team in an historic comeback against the Dallas Cowgirls there. Dallas, for the best stat of the night, they had been 195-0 when they entered the fourth quarter with at least a 14-point lead. They are now 195-1, thanks to the Green Bay Christian Watsons for delivering that blow on Sunday night. Great game to watch. The other one, of course, was an instant classic, was the Buffalo-Minnesota game. I hope you guys got to at least see some of that. That was an outstanding second half of a football game there. What a freaking mess Josh Allen has been the last couple of weeks. We'll see if he can't right the ship. Okay. That's really all the football I've got for this week. So, you guys there in Philly, Pete Rose played for the Phillies for a brief period of time. So I know some of this comes to a little bit of home cooking for you. We all know the story about Pete Rose. And I want to talk about this tonight because he just recently sent another letter to Manfred asking to be reinstated. And really, my frustration is with Major League Baseball. I'm not up here preaching that Pete Rose is a great guy. Okay, there's also rumors and stuff, things that he did in the 70s with a 15-year-old girl. And if that's the reason to keep him out of Hall of Fame, I'm with you. But if you're just going to keep falling back on this gambling shit, we need to have a conversation, and we're going to do that right now. You all know the story, right? In August of '89, Pete was punished with permanent ineligibility from baseball, which he voluntarily accepted by then Commissioner Bart Giamatti for gambling on baseball games while he played for and managed the Reds, including bets he placed on the Cincinnati Reds. So I don't know if you guys are aware of the ins and outs and why that ties to the Hall of Fame. 2 years after the fact, so Pete was put on a permanent ineligibility list by the commissioner. You cannot be a part of baseball. In 1990, directors voted that anyone on that permanent ineligibility list would be banned from induction into the Hall of Fame. So that's why Pete is banned. Previous to that vote, the players on the list were kind of just excluded, like an unwritten kind of, thing with the voters, where they just agreed to not vote him in. But it was that act that's keeping him out of the Hall of Fame. So it's not just that it's twofold, right? Like, he's tried to go at this a couple different ways. He asked for the Hall of Fame board of directors to, go back on that, and they won't hear him. We'll get to that in a minute. So for 15 years, Pete, from 1989 to 2004, he just kept proclaiming his innocence, right? I didn't do it. I didn't bet on baseball, blah, 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 blah. When the thing first went down, he even filed a lawsuit here in Cincinnati at the Court of Common Pleas, stating that Giamatti had prejudged the case and could not provide a fair hearing. And he actually got a temporary restraining order issued. Giamatti upped the ante and looked to move the case to U.S. District Court in Southern Ohio, which is a broader spectrum, not just the concentrated area here in Cincinnati where Pete had all the support in the world. Giamatti raised it to the District Court of Southern Ohio, more spread out. Not long after that, settlement negotiations took place as Pete and his team recognized exactly that. He was not going to get that same kind of Cincinnati support when it's such a spread out area. 8 days after Pete becomes permanently ineligible, Giamatti dies of a heart attack. So that's also contributed to future commissioners not wanting to entertain it. Giamatti died right after he sealed that permanent ineligibility for Pete. But again, for 15 years, he just keeps over and over and over again. I didn't do it until 2004. And I remember this because at that time, like, Hank Aaron was coming out speaking for Pete, in support of Pete getting into the Hall of Fame. And he chooses that moment to come out and say, yeah, I did it. Yeah, I've been denying it all these years, but no, I actually did bet on baseball. Look, I know a lot of people out here who have met Pete Rose before. I know a few people who've been able to actually meet him on multiple occasions and actually have conversations with him. All of them say the same thing. He's kind of an ass, okay? Unfortunately, a lot of pro athletes become that way. He's kind of an ass. But the bigger thing is, when you keep him talking baseball, he is an absolutely brilliant man. Okay? The ins and outs of the game, just everything from top to bottom of baseball. However, you take one step outside of those white lines, and I hear the same thing from everyone. He is dumber than a stump. Unfortunately, that's been Pete's life. He's to the point now where he will actually put whatever you want on a baseball. Sign it. Yes, I bet on baseball, Pete Rose. It's really kind of sad. So in 2015, ESPN did their own investigation, right? And they concluded that Rose did bet on baseball. While he was still a player manager, the results were made public and showed actual records of bets that Rose made. Those were hand-delivered by one of Rose's associates. So he had a snitch. Didn't help his cause either. Since he's been on the permanently ineligible list, multiple attempts to be reinstated. In 1992, he applied for reinstatement. Application is never acted upon by then Commissioner Fay Vincent. Why? Well, Vincent happened to be the deputy commissioner and played a key role in negotiating the agreement banning Rose while Giamatti was still the commissioner. So Vincent was never going to entertain any of this. 1998, he applies again. This time it's Bud Selig who takes no action. In 2003, Selig kind of reneges on that and says he is considering the application, but again, ultimately never did a thing. Bud Selig, not exactly the cleanest whistle either. He happened to be the commissioner during what era, folks? He was the commissioner during the steroid era that allowed, part of baseball just kind of saying, just put asses in seats, just put asses in seats. We don't care that you're taking steroids. And then later on saying, you're all scumbags for taking steroids. 2015, representatives for Rose apply again, this time to Commissioner Rob Manfred. But Manfred rejects it. Rob Manfred, who refused to punish the cheating Astros and cheating Red Sox when all the proof was there showing it. Why did he choose not to punish those guys? Because there was a CBA expiring, and he's a chicken shit. We all know it. Manfred's statement was that Rose had not been forthcoming about his gambling, that he was still betting on baseball, and that he did not have a mature understanding of his wrongdoing. Boy, you just get to sit right up on that pedestal and judge Pete Rose for his gambling habit when you allowed two teams to cheat the game with electronic sign stealing. Good call, Rob. In 2020, Rose, with his lawyers now, applied to Manfred again. This time, the petition is that his gambling did not affect the outcome of games, but the steroids and sign stealing scandals did, and those players were not banned, just what we talked about. He also sent a petition to the Hall of Fame Board of Directors asking them to repeal the 1991 decision on players on the ineligible list. What he wanted there was what we talked about before, where the Hall of Fame Board of Directors decided anyone on that list is banned from the Hall of Fame voting. Pete wanted that removed so that people, even if they're on that list, could still be on the Hall of Fame ballot. Neither Manfred nor the Hall of Fame directors ever responded to any of it. Finally, we're here in 2022, and Rose has sent yet another letter to Manfred, and I guess we'll just have to see what happens. Pete Rose is 81 years old. I have long since believed that he will not be considered until he is dead. And I think part of that stems from Bart Giamatti, the commissioner who, made him permanently ineligible, passing away right after that took place. Is that really what's going to happen? I don't think it should. And here is, so all of that, I kind of wanted, in case some of you guys weren't aware of all the ins and outs of how that whole thing worked, I wanted to kind of give you a rundown of the chain of events. So looking at Major League Baseball, we all know they've got issues with fans. They've got issues with some of you here in the room right now. You don't like it. There's multiple reasons for it, not the least of which is they're hypocrites. They contradict themselves all the time. You have the second oldest average fans in all the major sports, but also the most rapidly increasing in age. So not only are you already old, you're not attracting anyone younger. And part of it is because too many people look at Major League Baseball as being an old crotchety white guys club that refuses to move into current day, into the future. It's that crotchety kind of hypocritical old crusty white guy thing that's where they're really missing this with Rose. Okay, I get it. He broke the cardinal rule. He bet on baseball. I totally understand it. But that was, what are we, 33 years ago now? At this point, does it not kind of feel like the same as keeping someone in jail for marijuana possession in a state where getting baked is now legal? Doesn't that kind of It kind of feels the same way. Like, really, on January 1st of 2023, MGM is going to open a sports book inside Great American Ballpark here in Cincinnati, Pete's town, home of the fucking Cincinnati Reds. There's going to be, anyone who's been here before, been in that stadium, where the Machine Room Grill is, that's the space that's going to be occupied by the MGM. It opens New Year's Day. Do you know who's placing the first bet at that sports book? Anybody want to guess? That's right. It's Charlie Hustle. Pete Rose is going to place the first bet. You're allowing this to happen inside a major league ballpark. There's also a major push and consideration for the Oakland A's to be relocated to fucking Las Vegas. But you're going to keep Pete Rose out of the Hall of Fame because he bet on baseball. He bet on games 30, 40 years ago. MLB has prided itself, so that's hypocritical, in my opinion. There's also another problem where they contradict themselves. Baseball prides themselves on what? Their history, the records, all of that stuff, right? They've allowed all of us, they've never really pushed that Barry Bonds is the all-time record holder. It's just a number that's kind of there, right? Because they don't want to support it. They want it to still be Hank Aaron because it was something you could be proud of. Well, here's where Pete Rose stands in those record books. He has the most career at-bats and plate appearances. The most career hits, 4,256, a record that was held by Ty fucking Cobb. He's most times on base, most games played, most winning games played. Only player to play at least 500 games at 5 different positions. First base, second base, third base, left field, and right field. Most runs scored, doubles, walks, and total bases by a switch hitter. By a switch hitter. You know who was a switch hitter? Mickey fucking Mantle. And Rose has better numbers in those categories than the Mick. Most seasons of 100 hits, most seasons of 200 hits, most consecutive seasons of 600 or more at-bats. He also won 3 World Series titles, 3 batting titles, 1 MVP award, 2 Gold Gloves, was the 1963 NL Rookie of the Year, and a partridge in a fucking pear tree. Is he an idiot? Of course he's an idiot. Right? He's a moron. But MLB has got to get with the times and let Pete get on the ballot for the Hall of Fame. You can blackball him from being involved in any organization. Don't tell me that the owners and stuff can't get together and be like, look, man, we're going to get him on the ballot, but ain't nobody hiring this sumbitch. You're not allowed to hire his ass. We don't really want him involved in the game, but he's our all-time hit king. All these friggin' categories I just read off to you, and we got to get him on the ballot. Just don't hire him. He's 81 years old anyways. Who the fuck's going to hire him? But the man deserves to be in the Hall of Fame for his time as a player. Okay? I'm not supporting him as a human being. I'm looking at him as a baseball player. The same way as I voted for Donald Trump twice. It wasn't because he was a great human. Okay? Unfortunately, pun intended here, if I were a gambling man, my money would be on it never happening while he's alive. And I think it's disgusting. It's totally hypocritical. It's totally contradictive of itself. And it's stuff like this where baseball has got to get out of its own goddamn way. Major League Baseball needs younger people making decisions. And they need to get that spineless jellyfish out as commissioner. Okay? Get him out. He was the one that negotiated the previous CBA. Well, maybe if he didn't bend the players over, this last one wouldn't have been so rough. Now, on the same side, you got Tony Clark and his band of assholes on the MLBPA side that didn't help anything. But baseball, you've got to get with the times. You've got to get younger. You've got, at the risk of, I don't like using the word progressive, but you've got to get people with a more modern mindset to move this game into the future and start trying to attract younger fans. These kids, all they do is watch football and basketball. That's it. Why? Because it's constant action. Now, that's an area where baseball's got a real problem. Because in order to get more action, that means more runs scored, means the game takes longer. The game taking longer is also a complaint. So, but in order for the game to go quicker, you generally need less action, less runs scored. It's a problem. But they're going to have to figure out how to fix it. And they've got to stop looking foolish like they do with Pete Rose here. It's time to let the man into the Hall of Fame. God rest Bart Giamatti. I respect him for what he did. I think what he did at the time was correct. But it's old now. George Steinbrenner also got a lifetime ban from baseball that was lifted after a few years. Okay? And George Steinbrenner paid a bookie to go find dirt on Dave Winfield. To me, that's just as bad. All right? So, but they allowed George to come back. You got to put Pete back in. Okay? And get him on the ballot. He's 81 years old. What the hell harm is he going to do at this point? And on the heels of that, get Shoeless Joe Jackson on that fucking ballot too. Enough with all this. All right. Keenan, rant. Hey, it's what we do here, guys, right? We rant. Lou Mancini only got a bulldozer catcher in an all-star game. Yeah, Ray Fosse. And Fosse was never the same after that. David Conant popped in the room here. I want to get back to his comment. David Conant, and that's why he won't get a chance, because he keeps doing stupid stuff like being in casinos constantly and not shutting up. But I do agree with you that MLB is hypocritical and he should be in. Yeah, man, you know what? And I agree with you, man. He's his own worst enemy, Pete Rose. David, again, also, until you throw out all the bad people and other cheaters, steroid era deserves to be in, as does Pete. Debatable, but I'm not here to argue that. I think especially with the way baseball's handled it, they've allowed all of us to make our own decisions on that. So, I don't have an opinion of somebody else. If somebody, whatever people's opinion is, baseball's allowed that to happen. So, I've got my own opinions. I'm not going to discuss them here tonight. Lou Mancini, minor rant on the Gilmore scale. Yeah, minor. But it is something I am passionate about. I can tell you I was very young when Pete was in Philly, when Pete came back here to Cincinnati and broke the record. But watching video of him, he's the reason why, and I'm sure for a lot of us that played baseball when we were kids and whatnot, it's the reason why I dove headfirst in the bases. He was Charlie Hustle, man. Lou Dominguez, screw the moral compass. Last I checked, O.J. Simpson is still in the Hall in football. Thank you, Lou Dominguez. That right there, my friends, is a sport that gets it. These guys are not saints, okay? Charles Barkley said it best in that commercial a long time ago. I am not a role model. I am not paid to be a role model. Now, I'm not saying that excuses being a total jerk-off or a murderer or whatever, but, these guys need to be judged for their play on the field. Plenty of guys in the Hall of Fame who did far worse shit than Pete Rose. That's all I'm going to say. All right, guys. That's what Keenan Hardman. Baseball sucks. Where's Walton? All right, guys. That's all I've got for this week. We are looking forward to Indianapolis. Cannot wait to get out there. Cannot wait to be with my Green Legion family again. Hoping to hear from Quimby here soon to see what last night's call was all about. But if not, I'm sure I'll hook up with them sometime over the next few days. Either way, anybody heading to Indianapolis, expect to see me there. Expect to see me involved. across the board, wherever I can help out. So, for all of us here at the Gilmore compound, and I don't know what kind of diseases are still on the other side of this door here, thinking about going and checking in a hotel to keep myself safe for the rest of the week. Just don't want my wife to hunt me down and, become homicidal with me. But anyways, for all of us here at the Gilmore compound, we thank you very, very much. And for all of us with Green Legion Radio, we thank you very, very much for joining us tonight. Looking forward to Indianapolis this weekend. For next week, guys, I want you to think about your favorite Thanksgiving dishes. Okay, I know it sounds a little cheesy, but something I'm going to definitely want to talk about next week. Think about your favorite Thanksgiving dishes from when you were a kid, whether grandma made it, great aunt made it, mom made it, you make it, whatever. Bring all that energy next week. I'll keep posting that link for people to hop in. I hope some of you do from time to time. But this has been the Unhappy Gilmore Show, brought to you by Green Legion Radio and part of the Green Legion Radio family. For all of us here, to all of you out there, thank you very much for tuning in. We will talk to you this weekend if you're headed to Indy, or next Wednesday. Same bat time, same bat channel. Take care, y'all. All right, folks. You go enjoy the rest of your night. Enjoy your weekend. If you're headed to Indy, I will see you there. Love you, everybody. Go Birds!